and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajaytumobi. This week, I am in Victoria Island in the southwest part of Nigeria, Lagos, the most popular commercial city here, and this is Eko Atlantic City. It is touted as the largest project this side of Africa and indeed the world. It's a proposed district of Lagos. It is being constructed on land reclaimed from the Atlantic Ocean. Located in Lagos Bar Beach, upon completion, the proposed development anticipates 400,000 residents and 250,000 commuters moving in and out of the city on a daily basis. That's now. Environmentally, this project is needed. Its impact is to stop the erosion of the Lagos coastline. It will be adjacent to Victoria Island and is expected to be about 4 square miles. That's about 10 square kilometers of land. Now, the proposers of this project say that the city will satisfy the need for financial, commercial, residential and tourist accommodation. State-of-the-art high-tech infrastructure in line with modern and environmental standards. As of May 2009, the project was still in its dredging phase, with about 35,000 tons of rock and about 3 million cubic meters of sand already delivered to the reclamation site. In certain parts today, this is September 2011, you can see reclaimed land. Projects are ongoing already. Plots have been sold and paid for, and the undertaking is by South Energix Nigeria Limited, based here in Lagos. So, join me after the break this week as I'm spending 60 minutes in the company of the Managing Director of South Energix Nigeria Limited, the company building a city touted to be the new gateway to Africa in the 21st century. Welcome back and welcome to you, David Frame.
Thank you very much, Angela. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming, finding time. I know how busy you are, but you know, this is very important. A city built essentially on water. Should one be petrified, you know, that's about that?
Not at all. You have to bear in mind that cities around the world in coastal locations are often built on reclaimed land.
Okay.
We can take the example of Holland. A large proportion of Holland today is reclaimed from the sea, and we're lucky enough to have consultants from Holland involved in our project, so rest assured it's entirely safe.
You know, the reason I've asked that is, you know, a lot of people seem to have the perception that if you push the sea back, it will come back to get you one day, you know, so that's why a lot of people are worried. This reclamation we've done, and with things going on around the world, should we be worried that, you know, environmentally, a tsunami could come, for instance, and wipe the whole city off the face of the earth?
Well, first of all, you need to bear in mind that the Dutch have been protecting their land from the sea for centuries.
Wow.
And quite successfully at that. Now, you mentioned the issue of tsunamis. Tsunamis occur predominantly in the Pacific Ocean, not the Atlantic. It's all to do with the tectonic plates which cover the Earth and the movement. So if you have a plate that is unstable, then tsunamis can happen. We're lucky that off the coast of West Africa, that doesn't occur.
Okay, that can happen here.
It cannot happen. But we have had examples of reports of so-called tsunami waves back in past centuries.
Yes.
But there's no proof that this ever occurred, and it's not likely to happen.
All right. So now, will that land be available to all and every Nigerian who desires to buy and can afford to buy?
Absolutely. In fact, most of the people who have bought land on Eko Atlantic to date are Nigerians, in fact.
Okay.
from all walks of life.
What are the requirements? Do you have to be the member of a political party, for instance?
No, absolutely not. In fact, most of the investors so far in Eko Atlantic are private individuals,
Okay.
small companies, banks, people of that nature.
All right. And when you say people who have bought plots, describe the kind of plots we're looking at. Are they buying normal plots to build residential buildings, or for offices or skyscrapers?
A mixture of both, or of all actually. The concept of Eko Atlantic is that we are not going to have predominantly a business district, residential district,
Okay.
and so on. We like to encourage mixed use within an area and even within individual buildings.
And what would be the advantage of having a mixed use for the
Well,
area?
the advantage has been proven in Los Angeles in particular.
Yes.
There are areas of downtown Los Angeles which were no-go areas after dark
Okay.
in the past.
Okay.
And we've learnt from the redevelopment of Los Angeles, whereby now areas which were no-go areas after dark are now in use round the clock.
So that's one of the
That's
major...
a model that we have been looking at very closely, yes.
All right. So this is a copy of the brochure for the Eko Atlantic project in Lagos here. That's in the southwest part of Nigeria. It is available from the sales office on Victoria Island. The sales office for Eko Atlantic is here on the island. But what's caught my eye there is this: recovering lost land. You say here in the brochure, the power and potential violence of the Atlantic Ocean is being tamed by a new offshore seawall. What do you mean by that?
Well, if you go back through the history of Bar Beach
Yes.
and go back to the early 1900s, 1905, the shoreline of Bar Beach was 2.5 kilometers from where it is today. All that land has been eroded over the past 100 and 105 years. And it was at the bequest of the Lagos state government that we were brought in to find a permanent solution.
We're not doing this Eko Atlantic City project. Are you saying that the coastline will continue to deplete inwards?
So yes, in fact, you may remember back in 2005,
Yes.
we had a devastating storm which removed half of the carriageway of Amado Bello Way. Bar Beach at that time didn't exist. And there was a very severe threat to the integrity of not just Bar Beach, but the whole of Victoria Island. It's worth recording that the junction between Amado Bello Way and
Yes.
Akinadishola is in fact the highest point in Victoria Island.
Right now.
It has always been.
If that was the highest point, and then we had the flood come up,
And the sea had breached Bar
Yes.
Beach, then the entire Victoria Island would have been flooded with countless number of properties destroyed.
so this is beyond a commercial venture. It is something that is environmentally necessary.
Absolutely. And this was one of the primary reasons that Governor Tinubu at the time
Yes.
approached us and other developers to come in and find a permanent solution to the problem.
You say in the brochure as well, you say ships are taking sand from outside the reclamation area and repositioning it to recover the natural coastline. I also understand that a lot of tons of rock have been moved to the site. Now, explain what that means, because I have this impression in my head that if you put sand on water and you put a building on it, it will, because they say water will find a natural level, it will sink.
No, in fact, the process of reclaiming land using dredged sand, all you are doing is replacing the sand that had been lost through to erosion. You already have a firm foundation.
Okay.
And when the water is washed away in the process of dredging, you're left behind with dry sand, which is perfectly good for construction of any type of building.
This Great Wall of Lagos, you call it here, you say it's been built more than a mile off the coastline of Victoria Island and will act as a barrier between Eko Atlantic City and the power of the sea. The wall will be 7 kilometers long and precise scale modeling tests done in Europe. Those were the tests done in
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen. Do we have the same kind of terrain with Amsterdam here. You know, I'm trying to let people see that it is possible and it can happen here.
What you have to bear in mind is that the Danish Hydraulic Institute in Copenhagen
Yes.
is a world-renowned institute famous for conducting accurate scale models of developments from all around the world. So they have a library of data from which they can develop designs and ensure that they are thoroughly tested in laboratory conditions to ensure they work and that they are effective. We had a scale model of Eko Atlantic Wall tested in Copenhagen in 2009, and it passed all the tests with flying colours.
Okay, so it can resist any storm that's heading towards the Atlantic here?
The criteria for the test
Yes.
is that you generate a wave condition that replicates the most severe storm predictable in a 100-year period. Now that doesn't mean to say that in 100 years' time the wall will disintegrate or collapse. It means that we are testing to the most extreme condition that we can predict, and that is the basis of the design, and it is the criteria for the test.
Well, Mr. Frame, you must know that one of the problems that we have here, peculiar to Nigeria, is that there's no shortage of new projects. The thing is, can we sustain something like this? One is thinking that do we have the infrastructure generally to maintain the kind of standards that will be necessary to make this, as you call it in the brochure, the new gateway to Africa?
Well, this is the whole point of the development. What we're doing here, we're not only reclaiming the land,
Yes.
but we're putting in place the infrastructure required to build a city of international standard. That means we will be generating power on the site, so it's totally dedicated to the project.
Okay.
We will be taking up water, purifying that water to a condition that is drinkable.
Okay.
That will be pumped directly to the buildings. We will have a sewage collection system via pipes, and then that will be carried away to a sewage treatment plant. We will be providing fibre optic network around the entire city, so all IT services can be accessed through this system. So you will have a city where all those services that I've just mentioned
Yes.
are provided from below ground. You will not see electrical poles, you won't see telephone system or anything. Everything is below ground, as indeed you have in cities such as New York,
Yes.
London, Paris, and so on.
You say also here that it will relieve pressure on the stretched resources of Lagos, generating space and opportunity. Yes, everyone agrees that Lagos is a bit choked. Looking at it, really, are we not saying that, okay, we'll unchoke Lagos, but then Atlantic City, is there no danger that that will become choked as well?
Well, the design of the city
Yes.
has been put together by experts in the field of city development. And the road network that they have produced is designed specifically to keep traffic flowing. And there will not be the congestion created by converting buildings which were previously designed for residential purposes into commercial buildings.
Okay, because everyone will know what this building is built for.
Exactly.
Okay. So will you have commercial vehicles as well coming in there?
Yes, there is planned access for a light rail system. This will connect with the light rail system that Lagos State are planning. One of the lines runs along the northern boundary of Eko Atlantic. So we will have core stations linking the internal Eko Atlantic light rail system with the Lagos State system. This will alleviate a lot of the traffic congestion which is occurring in Lagos today. And it will mean that somebody arriving at the international airport in Ikeja
Yes.
could actually board a train, a light rail train, travel all the way through Lagos and enter Victoria Island and then on to Eko Atlantic.
You know, and that's straight from the airport.
That's it. This is how the system is designed
Okay.
and will be eventually implemented.
All right, we'll take our first break now. When we come back, we'll be asking Mr. Frame what they mean by a city to live and work in. Join me again after the break.
Who knows abi better thing? Abi who no like better thing? All these fine things wey dey see so. Na money government dey take do am now. Abi, as in, It's like, I mean, excuse me, I dey pay my tax. I dey do wetin? I dey pay my tax. Say you don't pay your own tax. Have you pay your tax?
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
Welcome back. Well, as I told you in my introduction, Eko Atlantic City is envisaging about 250,000 residents to live there, and they will be working in offices, shops, retail development, and services. Now, around 150,000 commuters will be on the move. Every district will have mixed-use plots so that the city will be lively, vibrant by day and by night. How will you achieve that? I mean, that it will be in the planning of the system, and that means that people will have to adhere strictly to the plan.
Well, what it means is that we will provide the necessary infrastructure,
Yes.
which, as I mentioned before, the roads, the water supply, the drainage, electricity, etc., to enable people to build buildings to a modern standard.
Yes.
But we would also control the type of development. We'd ensure that we will maintain a very high standard and that we will have continuity in a district. So, for instance, we would not have a situation whereby you would have a 30-story tower next door to a 2-story building.
All right.
There will be controlled development, but we want people to come up with imaginative designs, something that is futuristic maybe, but incorporating the best quality of materials so that we will have a city that Lagos and indeed Nigeria will be proud of.
Okay, so let's be practical now. You know, we've bought a plot, we've got our architects have designed it. We still need to come to you to get approval, so to speak, that that design will fit in to the general plan for the place.
Exactly. We will maintain a team who will review and comment on all plans submitted for construction and ensure that we maintain that high standard that I spoke of.
All right. And will we be allowed to bring in our own builders, or will there be a general standard to the standard of building there? Will there be your agency controlling that?
Well, as I said, we want to maintain a high standard and a
Yes.
high quality of construction. Obviously, we will insist that whoever is operating, constructing within the city would employ a credible construction company.
Right.
But we are not saying you must go to A, B or C. As long as the company will be proven to be reputable, then we have no objection.
No
But
objection.
we will follow very strictly the construction and ensure that the construction is according to international standard.
Okay. I mean, there are regulations, so you know,
Absolutely,
as long
yes.
as those regulations are adhered to. Now, it's supposed to be a new commercial hub for West Africa. This is a region that's home to about 300 million people. How will this Eko Atlantic City benefit other countries on the West African coast?
Well, it's always been considered that the level of development of the financial sector of the city of Lagos has been growing exponentially.
Okay.
They've been hampered by lack of adequate infrastructure facilities. If you go to any major bank, for example,
Yes.
you have a severe problem of parking. Now that has been brought about by the fact that adequate parking facilities are not in place, whereas in Eko Atlantic all that is planned and taken into consideration. For example, the way that we have configured
Yes.
the landfill, we will encourage all developers to utilize basement parking.
What does that mean?
It means that the general street level to which we are filling our road system will be on average 4 meters higher than the general fill area. That will enable a developer to construct basement parking in dry conditions. Today, if you want to construct basement parking in Victoria Island, for
Yes.
example,
Yes.
you need to dig down below the water table level. a very, very expensive procedure. That we can eliminate because you will be
You raise it
constructing
up.
in dry conditions.
Right, so with that basement parking, that will be across the board. Any kind of story building will kind of have that same plan.
Well, that concept of parking below ground level is really a stipulation that we would like to adhere to.
All right.
Now, the reason we do this is because we know from experience that commercial buildings in particular attract
Yes.
a lot of visitors, and often those visitors are obliged to park on the streets, which creates congestion and problems. This we will eliminate because by enforcing parking on the plot
Yes.
of a development, we will eliminate parking on the streets altogether. This will allow traffic to flow. You'll have a much more free movement of traffic, and even the developments will benefit from having secure parking for their visitors.
Secure parking, that's important as well. Now, this Eko Atlantic City will be divided into 7 districts. How have you compartmentalized them? What will be the criteria for the different districts?
Well, we will still carry forward this theme of mixed use within a district and even within buildings if possible. But obviously, according to the location of a district, it lends itself to a particular type of development. For example, the western boundary
Yes.
of the project, which runs along the entrance to Lagos Harbour, the Commodore Channel. Here we are calling this district Harbour Lights, and we want to have a development which is similar to the Manhattan concept, so high-rise buildings.
The
Overlooking
skyline.
the water, and it will be a very attractive location.
Yes.
And in fact, it's one of my favorite areas because in the evenings you have beautiful sunsets.
Can you see all this now? I mean, I know that as at 2009, a lot of dredging was going on. It's 2011, September. Do you have a definite definition now when you go there about how the districts are placed and where they are?
The master plan, shall we call it, is pretty well defined now. And the sand filling of phase 1 was completed earlier this year, in April. We are resuming sand filling operations or via dredging later this month. And by this time next year, we will have in place approximately 4.5 million square meters of sand filling. That is for approximately 3/4 of the existing Victoria Island area, and represents half of our development.
Wow. Where are you getting the sand from?
The sand, we conducted extensive surveys
Yes.
of the seabed offshore of Lagos, and we were looking for a particular type of sand, a sand which technically speaking is considered medium to coarse, which means they're quite large grains of sand which are perfect for reclamation work. We discovered that type of material, the
Yes.
location approximately 20 kilometers to the east of here and 5 kilometers offshore. We found enough sand of the right quality to cover 2 Eko Atlantics, in fact. So we know that we have enough quantity of sand in that location to give us the right quality of sand, which is the important point.
Okay, so it's not just sand. You know, sometimes things look very simple. You know, when they say they're just bringing tons of sand, it's not just ordinary sand or what you call sharp sand. It's a specific type of sand.
Yes, well, you're looking for not just one type of or grain size. You're looking for a good mixture of different particle sizes, which once it's placed in location compacts very well.
All right, now back to the districts. 7 urban districts, each with their own individual character and architecture. All are planned to blend together office and workspace, homes and communities. Each will be vibrant, full of life and bustling with activity. Now, how will I know which I'm qualified to buy? Is there a specification for me depending on my need perhaps of which district I'll be going to?
We always like to accommodate the specific requirements of the developer.
All right.
So if a developer comes to us, for example, and says, I have an idea, I want to build residential apartments, then we will direct that developer to the areas of the project which would be better suited for that type of development. But we want to keep the options open as much as we can.
Right.
We're trying our best to give the developers what they want and put them in a location which is better suited to the type of development they want. And hopefully we will achieve this, and we will have a city that everybody will be proud of.
Now, to Eko Atlantic City as a financial center, those high-rise buildings that we see, in the pictures to promote the project, is that how the project will look, or those are just mere projections?
Well, these are our concepts for how we expect the city to look once fully developed.
Okay.
But we have two major areas where developments of that type will
Yes.
occur. The first one I've already mentioned along the western boundary, which we call Harbour Lights.
Harbour Lights.
But then we have our business district. Now the business district runs on the border of phase 1 and phase 2, and it consists of a boulevard which will be 60 meters in width. Now that's the equivalent of the Champs-Élysées in Paris,
Right.
or Fifth Avenue in New York.
New York.
And either side of that boulevard, we expect major financial institutions to establish their headquarters.
Right.
And one or two have already gone very far with their planning for such buildings.
That's the business district and Harbour Lights. Now, let's talk practically now. You talked about residential buildings. Fast foods, where would they fall among these 7 districts?
Going back to our theme of a
Mixed use.
mixed use, within the structure of a building, typically, shall we say, a residential complex or even an office complex, we see a situation whereby the first 2 or 3 floors lend themselves easily to fast food outlets, restaurants, cafes,
Easily accessible.
easily accessible from the street.
Okay.
And then above those will be the commercial areas in the business districts, for example, and residential buildings in the areas which lend themselves to that type of development.
And you say here that the towers will rise to a height of up to 65 levels. What does that mean?
Well, that means that in particular areas such as the business district, Harbour Lights, etc., we have this concept of high-rise buildings,
Skyscrapers.
skyscrapers. In fact, one of the developments that is in the planning stage at the moment is projected to be 55 stories high, which will certainly make it the highest building in Nigeria and most probably Africa as a continent.
That will be great. So we'll get into the Guinness Book of Records there. And large trading space, 2,500 to 3,700 square meters per floor. That's
Well,
a
this
lot.
is the type of development that if we are going to create a city for the 21st century, this is the type of space we must allow. Don't forget that most of the large banking institutions have departments spread over the entire city of Lagos. To bring them all together in one building will obviously facilitate better and more productive operations.
Yeah.
But also to have your peers, other banks in the same area, so that interaction between the banks can be facilitated in a better way, can only enhance the general performance and efficiency of the banking industry.
And the nightlife, will there be any kind of nightlife there? Will nightclubs be allowed to function?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Nightclubs, cinemas, bowling alleys, you name it. When you have a city, you must provide those kind of facilities. So people have an outlet in the evenings to go out and enjoy.
Right. They don't have to leave the city to come
Exactly.
out of it to do that. And then transportation. I read here that the internal ferry system will connect to the Lagos water network. So are you going to have a ferry system operating from out of there in addition to the light railway?
Well, already the Lagos State Government have spent a great deal of time and money improving on the general waterway transportation system within Lagos as a metropolis.
Yes.
And a number of those routes that are proposed could easily connect with the western boundary of Eko Atlantic. So we would have a situation that there will be a staging point on that boundary where people can come down from the Lagos State system and join a canal system on Eko Atlantic,
Right.
which runs through the entire city. So it's quite conceivable that if you're living, shall we say, in Badagry, and you're using the Lagos State ferry system,
Yes.
you could come into the boundary of Eko Atlantic, enter a similar system within Eko Atlantic, and arrive at your place of work without having to touch any of the city roads of Lagos.
Well, it all sounds very elitist to me. Obviously, it isn't going to be cheap. Can we agree on that? That, these plots of land won't be cheap?
Well, what I can tell you is that the current prices that we are charging for plots compares very, very favorably with land that is available in Lagos, Victoria Island.
Okay, that's in the environs, Lekki and all those
Exactly.
places.
And then you can imagine also that with the enhanced utility services that we will be providing.
Yes.
So you will have a high standard of electrical power available to you. It's just connect at the end of your plot. You will have high grade water supply, you just connect. You have a sewage treatment system which you just connect to by a pipe, and the same with the IT services. So you will not need a standby generator. You will not need to drive or sink your own boreholes to take up water. You won't need your own purification system. And you won't have a soak-away, which is, let's face it, is a centuries old technology.
Outdated now.
And outdated. You will have a very efficient drainage system that all your sewage is taken away and treated far from your building.
What will be the size of a standard plot?
Well, we don't have what we would call standard plots.
Okay.
We have a variety of different sizes to suit the kind of developments that we expect. But currently the smallest plot that we have on site is approximately 1,500 square meters. But we have other plots which go beyond 10,000 square meters, for example.
Right. And in total, how many square meters will the whole city be?
Well, the entire city that will be developed
Yes.
is 9 million square meters, or 900 hectares. Of that, something in the order of 7 million square meters, or 700 hectares, is available for development.
What about the other two?
The other two is made up of canal systems, roads, green areas. For example, along the southern boundary of Eko Atlantic,
Yes.
on the front where the seawall is, we will have a promenade that will be 12 meters in width, running the entire length of the wall.
Okay.
This is a perfect location for anybody who wants, for example, to jog, to roller skate, to cycle, just to take the family for an evening stroll.
Yeah.
This will be a very pleasant area and overlooking the sea.
And you say green. What do you mean by green?
Our concept is that all the road developments will have regular planting of trees and shrubs, so that the outlook is pleasant. We don't want a situation that the city becomes a concrete jungle. We want to encourage greenery. Even the developers within their own plots,
Yes.
we will encourage them to plant trees and shrubs and to make the general surroundings more amenable.
More appealing. And although you say that generally you will give developers free room to express what they want, what are the no-nos? Because I'm imagining with 9 million square meters, would bungalows be allowed, for instance? Would that not be a waste of space?
No, our concept is a city development. So even on the smaller plots, we would encourage a medium to high-rise concept. Because after all, this is a city. We are not talking about the leafy avenues where there's low density development.
Yeah.
We appreciate that developers would like to make full use of the land available. And we will encourage them to construct buildings which suit that concept. But there will be open areas around their buildings, and those open areas, they would need to plant trees and make the general area pleasant for the people who will be using the buildings.
Okay, so there will be ventilation between buildings. It won't be
absolutely.
choked. It won't be choked up.
Now that our regulations follow very closely the generally considered international standards. So there will be a maximum area or percentage of the plot on which a development can take place,
Yes.
which will allow for plenty of open walkways, courtyards, leafy green areas within the plot. So the overall aspect of the city will have a very green outlook.
And I want you to reassure Nigerians, is there any reason to be afraid to live in Eko Atlantic City?
No, I would say there's every reason why it would be attractive to relocate to Eko Atlantic City. Because it will be a controlled development. The construction of all the infrastructure will be to an international standard. So all the problems that you encounter living in VI today, for example, you will not have these same problems in Eko Atlantic. So it will be a very pleasant area to live. You won't have the choked congestion that we often experience in VI. And you will have an outlook over the sea, which is obviously attractive for anybody.
Yes, good views from one's bedroom. And because the Lagos State government is involved in this, I have to ask you, are they putting in any conditions? For instance, if I want to buy a plot, do I have to show that I'm a card-carrying member of the governor's party? Perhaps?
No, not at all. No, the Lagos State government have been very supportive in what we are doing, but it is part and parcel of the concession agreement that we signed with them in 2006 that we will be given free rein to control the development in an international standard. And no, you're not required to be a card-carrying member
of his party. All right, we'll take another break now, our final break. Well, when we come back, we'll be looking at whether or not there will be options available to you if you're looking to buy a plot on Eko Atlantic City. Will the company be offering mortgage options, for instance? So join me again after the break.
Government wants our city to become a mega modern city. And so, government is providing modern markets for us to carry out our business. Now, this requires money. So, we need to pay our taxes to help government to help us. I pay my taxes. I hope you've paid yours.
Welcome back. Our concluding moments now with David Frame, the Managing Director, South Energix Nigeria Limited. They are the developers of Eko Atlantic City, a project here in Lagos, the southwest part of Nigeria. Now, those who want to buy plots, will there be options? Because there'll be a lot of people watching who don't have a lump sum of money, but they have the ability to continue to make money. Will there be mortgage facilities available for them to be able to take advantage of this?
We as a company are not offering mortgage facilities.
Yes.
But there are a number of banks who are looking at these type of options. In fact, some are even operating mortgage facilities at the moment. And we believe this is going to expand as the land becomes more available. Banks will take advantage of people who are looking to develop on Eko Atlantic and provide the financial facilities to enable them to develop. But with regard to the sale of land here, if we have an area of land which is already in place, where the sand filling is ready and development is available, we would expect at least a 50% down payment.
Okay.
But in those areas where development is yet to take place, where
Yes.
the sand is not in place at the moment, we require a 25% deposit and further deposits of payments of a similar nature on an annual basis. So over a period of 4 years, you can spread your payments.
Okay. And when you say where the land is not developed, what do you mean? Are you saying that I can start, if the land is developed and I pay now, I can start construction of a 50-story building as we speak?
In fact, we have developers who have already started. We have one building, it's a 24-story residential structure. It's already started. The piling works are ongoing as we speak. And other developments are at an advanced stage in planning, and one in particular I believe is likely to start this year. Others definitely will start in the early part of 2012. So development has already started, and I can tell you the first building is going to be a very, very striking, very attractive building.
When can we see that? When do you think that will be completed? Do you have any
I
idea?
believe the program is 2.5 years from now, that the first apartment will be available for occupation.
And by then, 2.5 years, will all the infrastructure be complete? Will everything be ready to roll? I mean, turn on the tap, water comes out, you know, electricity.
Exactly. This is the covenant, you may call it, that we have with all developers, that once they have started their development, we will guarantee that we'll have the infrastructure facilities available once their building is ready to be opened and commissioned.
And who will be responsible generally for maintaining the environment of the place? You know, like a council, London City Council, or local government area. You know, who maintains? Will it still be South Energix operating the maintenance of that, and
Yes.
for how long?
Absolutely. Well, it is part of our concession agreement with the Lagos State Government that we will maintain the city. So we will establish a company who will be responsible for the maintenance of the city as a whole in every level.
So we're looking at generating employment there as well.
Oh, it's huge numbers. The 150,000 regular commuters that we are projecting are those people who will be working in commercial concerns within the city. Also, there will be domestic staff and even drivers and so on.
Yes.
But even the maintenance of the city, we will be employing large numbers of people.
Because
at
streets
every
must be
level.
swept, you know, grass must be mown.
Exactly. All the, shall we say, municipal facilities that are provided in any major city around the world will be provided in Eko Atlantic.
Now, the projection is for 400,000 people.
Yes.
But I'm looking at a situation now that, you know, you have your 400,000 residents, but more people want to buy into this dream. You know, can you still reclaim more land to add to that, or will that be a totally new project if you do?
The way that the Eko Atlantic City is designed, it is a one-off development. There are possibilities to extend further, but I would say the most likely scenario that such development or further expansion would require a separate project entirely. But we are considering Eko Atlantic as a blueprint of what can be done. And we believe that when people see the quality of the environment that we're going to produce here, it will encourage other developers to do similar developments along the coastline of Lagos.
All right. And just thinking off your head now, because we know we're a coastal country, do you think any other states can have something like this? Do you think they have the terrain for it?
I would say Port Harcourt lends itself ideally to similar developments. I know that the government of Akwa Ibom ambition to construct similar type of developments on their coastline. Yes, it's quite likely. And I believe this is just the start of what could be the generation of very vibrant period of the history of Nigeria.
And when will this city be completed? Is it the kind of city that will wake up one morning and it's all done? Everything's done, every flower's planted, and construction workers are nowhere to be seen?
Well, let's put it in perspective. It will take us until the end of 2015 just to complete what we call the marine phase, which is the sand filling and construction of the seawall. But phase 1, marine stage, is already completed, and a visit to site, you will see that the road development is well underway.
Yes.
There are developments of projects already in process. As I mentioned before, there's one development in particular where piling works are ongoing as we speak. So development of the infrastructure, shall we call it, is immediately after the marine phase of the work. So it's reasonable to assume that phase 1 will be at a very advanced stage of development by the time we are reaching the completion of the marine phase of the final district. I remember visiting Abuja in 1982 when it was basically just green fields.
You've been in Nigeria that long?
I arrived in 1981. Yeah. I was working on the Ajikuta complex initially.
Okay.
So you go to Abuja today, you have
It's different.
a fully developed city. We believe that the development of Eko Atlantic would even be more rapid than that. So a reasonable model will be 20, 25 years from now. The city will be at a very advanced stage of completion.
And the sales office, is it open 7 days a week? And where is it located? For those who want to get more information on this or invest in this.
Well, the sales office is located on the Madobello Way, which is the highway which runs immediately behind Bar Beach,
Okay.
as we used to call it. And it's at the most easterly end of Madobello Way. So if people know the Ocean View restaurant,
Okay.
it's very close to that corner.
And is it open 7 days a week?
It's open 6 days a week. It's closed on Sundays, but anybody is welcome. In fact, we're more than happy to take guests around and show them what we are planning to do, what we've achieved so far, and we take visitors to site on a regular basis.
Okay. That's the site itself,
That's
standing on the city itself.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, what are the hours, opening hours of the sales office?
The sales office is open from 9 in the morning till 6 in the evening, and on a Saturday 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon.
All right, I want to thank you very much, Mr. Frame, for having me and spending 60 minutes with us on the program to share more light on Eko Atlantic City. We wish you all the best, and hopefully we shall get a plot here as well.
Well, that'd be nice. Look forward to that.
Well, you've been watching 60 Minutes with me. I'm Angela Ajitumobi. To have a great week.